Today is my mom's 90th birthday. She has an inspiring story like my father, and so I want to make sure that she gets recognized for her contribution to history and to the life of the family. She was and still is the life of the family, as you will come to know. Her story began in the coastal town of Patuakhali in former British India. By the way, that's where I was born, in Patuakhali, in my grandparents' dining room, believe it or not. My grandfather, or Nana, as we say in Bengali, was a lawyer, and my grandmother, or Nani, an active, intelligent woman with an elementary school level of education, which was interrupted by an early marriage. While my Nani failed to thrive within the confines of the domestic life relegated to most women at that time, so she ventured out to join the All Pakistani Women's Association, where she became the vice president, holding the highest non-governmental position. Along with various officials, including ministers, she led and managed social welfare programs related to women and the poor. This grandmother of mine was way ahead of her time in the 1950s because she said to her daughters, I will not give you ornaments, which were traditionally given to women, especially when they got married. She said, I will give you education, and that will be your ornament, and it will last forever. As a result of this push by Nani, my mother actually made history as the first woman in Patuakhali to obtain her Bachelor of Arts degree. Yes, my mother made the headlines of the newspaper, and that is her claim to fame in that town. People from Patuakhali today probably don't know this about my mother, as it is not in the history books, I'm sure. But it should be, shouldn't it? She then became a well-loved teacher for some time until she moved to Karachi, West Pakistan, where my father got a government position. The desert heat in Karachi and the lack of family support nearby while she was having one child after another made their lives rather challenging, and my parents were so stressed out they were having major health problems. My eldest uncle, already in Canada, encouraged and helped them to move to London, Ontario, where they were all pioneers in the early 60s, being the first Pakistanis, now Bangladeshis, of course, to be there. Canada suited my mother well as she loved the open-minded and open-hearted Canadian people, the bland Canadian food, and the colder Canadian climate. Pretty strange for somebody who came from a tropical climate with very spicy food. She was only 28 years old, but she immediately recognized that the Canadian lifestyle suited her, and her health began to improve dramatically. Now, this doesn't happen to everyone, it just worked for her. I remember when she had first come to Canada, she would dress up in her gorgeous silk saris with my then 3-year-old little brother, who was dressed in his gray-black suit with a white shirt and a bow tie, just to go on the bus to shop for groceries. She was a radiant beauty, and all of the people on the bus would ask her questions and give her compliments on her colorful sari, her beautiful skin color, her dark eyes, long silky hair, and naturally white teeth. They likely never saw someone so exotic then. In the 60s, there were many job opportunities, and she was offered jobs as a teacher. But she was the type of person who wouldn't take anything on unless she could do it to perfection. Instead, She decided that homemaking would be her profession, and she did that to absolute perfection. While staying at home and raising 3 children, she was like a Bangladeshi Martha Stewart, decorating the house, cooking fresh and delicious food daily, baking German pies, honey cakes, and Indian sweets, or mishti as we call them. She was cooking the healthiest versions of Bengali food with just the right amount of spices and oil, which would somehow miraculously create a burst of amazing flavors in our mouths. Every meal was infused with love and care. She also made sure to balance the meals and not to overcook the vegetables to retain the nutritional value. This was not by chance. She was well read on health and nutrition, which was a hobby and a passion of hers. At meal times, she would watch us like a hawk, so as to see who is eating what, so she could remember our favorite foods. When she cooked for parties, the table was filled with elaborate and delicately prepared dishes with a creative and colorful presentation fit for a king. After eating, her friends would request her to sing songs, usually in Urdu, Hindi, or Bengali, because of her wonderful singing voice. They would all sing together until the wee hours of the morning, having a glorious time. She was also her own health advocate and found ways to overturn medical decisions when they did not resonate with her. I remember the day she went in for a gallbladder surgery at the age of 38. She asked the doctor, even at that 11th hour, "Is there anything I can do to avoid this surgery today? I'm too young for this, and I have young teenagers to care for." A few doctors went into an adjacent room. They came out of the conference and gave her a food list and told her to exercise to avoid surgery, and then they let her go. Being a disciplined person, she followed that program religiously for her entire life and never, ever needed surgery. She loved games and was very competitive, which would be clear when she would play parcheesi, or ludo, as we call it. She would get so excited trying to win, putting her hands together and praying for her 6 on the dice, shouting out, "Choi, choi, choi," which means 6, 6, 6 in Bengali. Her competitors would have an enjoyable time just because of her antics and excitability. Then there would be loud laughter and shouting about the win. The other thing that got her through the challenges of life was a wicked sense of humor, which she still has to this day. For example, I remember when she found out my cousin was working on his 6-pack, she pointed to my dad and said, "See, your uncle had a 6-pack when we got married, and now it's a 1-pack." The whole room filled with laughter at her quick wit. As many of you know, my parents had a sacred and loving bond. As an educated woman, she was shoulder to shoulder on the mission of advancing knowledge in the field of statistics. She knew what Dad's work was all about. And when she attended his conferences, some people would ask if she was also a statistician, since she sounded like she was one. They say that behind every great man, there is a great woman. That does not apply to my mother. What does apply is that beside every great man is a great woman. This was literally true, because if she was not sitting near or beside him, he would actually have trouble working on his research. Today she is without her soulmate, and although there is much grief around the loss, she still finds things worth joking about. She is surrounded by the love of her children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, brothers, sisters, nephews, and nieces from all sides of the family. Her intelligence, beauty, radiance, and humor lives on, and there is nothing I wouldn't do for her. Mom, thanks for showing us how to live a fun, vibrant, and healthy life. Happy 90th birthday. Love, Isme.